affects you instantly. I don't like to talk to students about anything that will affect them a long ways down the road, because sometimes you don't think of your life long ways down the road. The farthest thing you think of in the future is what you're going to have for dinner tonight or what you're going to be doing this weekend. But you don't think about what colleges you're going to want to go to or what job you really want. So what we really need to do is start planning for the future, but at small little steps. And that step starts with your footprint. But before I talk about the footprint that I want to talk about, I want to see if you understand what a footprint really is. So in Houghton's class, is there anybody in here that can tell me where you would leave a footprint? Where could you leave a footprint?
In the sand.
In the sand, absolutely. Right? Mr. Spears' class, is anybody there? Can they tell me where they would leave a footprint?
The snow.
In the snow, absolutely. Right? Houghton's class, any other places? Social media. Okay, and you hit the nail right on the head, because that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're not talking about literal footprints that you leave in the sand or leave in the snow. Those footprints over time get washed away by water or covered up again by more snow, and people forget about those footprints. The footprints you leave online are known as a digital footprint. And those footprints cannot be washed away by anything, no matter how hard you try. Those footprints are like you stepping in concrete, and they solidify instantly, and you cannot wash them away. So you have to decide, what kind of footprint are you going to be leaving? Are you going to leave a good footprint or a bad footprint? So that's kind of what today's talk about is, how do you leave a footprint? How do you know you're leaving a footprint? Who's involved in your footprint? And when did your footprint begin? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Notice as I move across these slides, your screen also moves. So you don't have to be looking at my screen. You could be looking at your screen. And today's essential question is this: what is your digital footprint? And what does yours convey? Now, before we move on, we have to know what that word convey means. Does anybody know what the word convey means? Mr. Spears' class, is anybody in your class, do they know what the word convey means?
Sadly, no. Wait,
Yeah, that's okay.
One.
What?
Okay. Go ahead, Logan.
Transport or like carry to a place.
Carry to a place, kind of. In Houghton's class, anybody in here know what the word convey means? Okay, convey?
What it means.
What does it mean? Yes.
What it means. This is what it means.
Oh, what it means. Okay, yeah, I guess you can say it that way. Convey is when somebody looks at your social media accounts, or they look at it just at a glance without meeting you, what do they think about you by that? Just by looking at your social media bio or intro, or by scrolling through your posts, what does that convey or show to them as you are a person? That's what convey means. Okay, it's what on the surface, what would somebody say, hey, that person is this, based upon what you've posted. So that's what the word convey means. And this lesson is going to be cut into two parts. And we're going to end this part halfway through. But by the end of these lessons, by the end of today and by the end of Friday, you should be able to understand that you have a digital footprint. And that information can be searched by any computer, any device, and any person. No matter how hard you think you try of protecting your information, no matter how much you lock down your Facebook or your Twitter or your Instagram or your Snapchat, everything you post is being recorded. Everything you tweet is being recorded. Every text message you've ever sent, every voicemail you've ever left, every phone call you've ever made, every single pieces of those information have been recorded. And some of you might be going, that's not right. That must be illegal. It absolutely is not. Because when you get a device and when it turns on, it gives you that long list of legal mumbo jumbo that says, blah, 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 blah. Do you accept? And I guarantee you, none of you in here have ever read the entirety of those legal proceedings, and you all click accept because you want to be able to get on iTunes. You want to be able to use your cell phone. You want to be able to use your GPS. But in that, it says any data that you put out, we get to keep. And any data that you put out, we get to use and we get to save. So it's completely legal because you clicked accept. So you have given those companies the right to data mine, right? Mining, back in the old days, coal mining, right? You go into a cave, you take a pickaxe and you chisel coal out of the wall. You mine it out. These companies mine your data to find out what you like and try to tier and sell things to you based on what you've searched and what your phone calls have made. Every single time you have your phone turned on, you are leaving a trail of footprints, digital footprints that are being tracked and monitored by people you don't even know. You need to know this. And I'm not trying to do this to scare you. We're doing this to prepare you so that you know what's lying ahead for you guys every time you use your phone. Every time you think you're sending a private message when it's not private. All of it can be searched at a moment's notice. You have to be aware of this so that you can prepare yourselves for the days to come when you're not just a 7th grader and not just an 8th grader, but when you're going to college, when you're going for a job interview, maybe when you become famous or when you want to get into politics. Be aware things you do now are going to affect you, yourself, the older you in the future, the professional you in the future. So just be aware of that. That's what we're going to be looking at today. And then also recognize that people's online information can either be helpful or harmful. I'm going to show you how it could be harmful to you, but I'm also going to show you how a good cultivated footprint, a footprint that you mold to the best of your ability to make it shiny and neat and nice, can help you out so much in life. But conversely, a bad footprint can hinder you so much in life. And the earlier you recognize this, the better you will be off, I promise you. And then finally, consider your digital footprints. Consider what you're leaving behind. And also consider what those footprints will do for you in the future. Those are the 3 things we need to look at. So before we do that, let's take a quick little poll. So question 1, and you get the little question right up on your screen. How many of you have ever sent a message? That's a text message or an email. You're going to do it digitally on your computer. So on your computer, you're going to select yes or no. How many of you have ever sent a message or posted a comment online, used a photo sharing app? Now, sending a message also includes sending messages through Xbox Live or the PlayStation Network. That still counts as sending a message, okay? And if you have, make sure you use the Nearpod right in front of you. Click on the answer and make sure you hit send in the bottom left-hand corner. And notice, right now, 83% of you have said yes, and only 1.5% of you have said no. 10 years ago, that was the complete opposite. 10 years ago, phones were not powerful enough to take good quality pictures. Cell phone signals were not powerful enough to send those pictures through the internet. Text messages were brand new, okay? 10 years ago, none of this stuff was possible, so the answer of have you done this was no. Now the answer has been completely switched on its head. How many of you have ever created a profile on a social networking site? Now, that could be Facebook, that can be Twitter, okay? That can be Instagram, but it can also be Xbox Live. It can also be the PlayStation Network. How many of you have ever set up an account for any type of social media website? And then this is where you do it on the Nearpod. You select the answer that best represents you, and then you hit send or submit, whatever that blue button says down at the bottom. And once again, notice 85% of you have said yes, and about 6% of you have said no. And the no is probably because your parents have said you're not old enough yet to have a social media account. You're not old enough yet to be part of this. And you know what? That's absolutely true and not true. It's true because your parents want to protect you, absolutely. But the problem is a lot of parents, and I'm not saying anything bad about your parents, but a lot of parents put like an age kind of limit on it. Once you turn 13, we'll let you. Once you turn 14, we'll let you. The difference that I think should be is once you're prepared enough, we will let you. Once you have shown that you're capable of handling that account, we will let you. And I always tell parents, and I give this to parents as well. I don't just talk to students. I give this talk to parents all the time. You'd be surprised at how many parents have no idea or have never heard of what a digital footprint is. And I tell them, when your son or daughter turns 16, are you going to give them keys to a car without ever having them go through driver's ed, without ever having them take a test, without ever them having them sit in the car with you and show you that they are capable of driving? And most of them say, heck no. We make sure they're prepared and ready before we hand them the keys. Then I say, well, how come you've never done anything like that when you hand them a cell phone? Handing you guys a cell phone at this age without preparing you for it, without showing you the correct way to use it, without telling you that everything you do is tracked and monitored, without showing you all this stuff and having you unprepared to handle it, that's more dangerous than handing you keys to a car. It is absolutely more dangerous, because what you do on that device will affect you the rest of your life. So when parents put an age limit on it, I remind them it should not be an age limit. It should be a prepared limit. When will they be prepared to handle the responsibility of a social networking site? It's not an age limit. It's a can you handle it time. Okay? And some of you are like, oh, right, if I show them I can handle it, maybe I can get it now. But it's absolutely true. If you show that you can handle it, right, it's more than an age thing. It's a can you handle it thing. And finally, have you ever Googled your own name? Have you gone on Google and said, I wonder who else has my name? Or I wonder what I've been up to, right? I'll tell you what, 7 years ago, I Googled my name. Nothing popped up except some guy named Joe Marquez in Hawaii that is the premier wedding photographer of the Hawaiian Islands. That's the only person that popped up. Now when you type in my name, I start popping up. But the thing is, why? I mean, I don't try to put myself out there a whole bunch, but I can tell you that I've been traveling a lot of places over the summer, during the school year, talking to students your age, talking to teachers of students, talking to parents, giving talks and giving speeches and showing teachers how to use technology. And every time I talk, guess what they're doing in the audience? They're tweeting about me. They're posting about me. My digital footprint is not the prints that I leave behind. It's what other people have been leaving behind for me as well. That's happening to you right now. The footprints that you leave are not the ones you're leaving. It's the ones your friends are leaving for you. You have to be aware of that. You may be talking the straight and narrow, but the friends that you have may be leaving comments on your posts or posting things about you that are not true, that are conveying the wrong message about you. You have to be aware of the people you allow to leave your digital footprint with you. I've been very careful. Have you been careful? Have your friends been careful? And we're going to give you some more examples of that. So the main thing I want you to understand is everything you do online leaves a trail. There is no safety net. Now, that is even any picture you take on your phone, even if you don't post it on Twitter, even if you don't post it on Instagram, even if you don't post it in a Snapchat conversation. Every single picture you take on your phone is now being sent to the cloud. Whether you have an Apple phone, an iOS system, an Android device, every one of those companies now has a cloud database. And every picture you take automatically, as soon as you hit a Wi-Fi connection, uploads those pictures to your cloud account. Now, that cloud account is protected by your password or your parents' password. But those cloud accounts have been shown to be very commonly hacked. And so the pictures that you take can be spilled out into a world that you never wanted those pictures to come out. Even the private pictures that you have on your phones of just, friends and family having fun that you've never planned to post on any social media, those can be followed and taken. I just want you to be aware of that, because it happens all the time to celebrities and politicians. These things get taken and they start getting blackmailed. What that means is, if you don't want this picture to be shown to the world, you better give us money. Understand, nothing is safe on your devices. You have to be prepared for that type of information. So we need to understand some of these terms. We've already talked about the digital footprint, right? And you can actually scroll through this and read on it. If you scroll up on your digital footprint, you can read. It's all the information found about a person online. The thing about the problem with this is, though, that it doesn't have to be things that you have posted. It's things other people have posted about you. Restaurants are made or broken by a lot of comments people leave on Yelp, right? Anybody in here use Yelp, right? Yelp is a place that you can go and it tracks every restaurant or every place that you've been, but that are around you, and people can leave comments like, that's a great restaurant to go to, I give it 5 stars. That's a horrible restaurant to go to, I give it 1 star, right? And they try and get people to rate them high. But what if a competitor goes in and just every day, I'm going to give them a 0 every time just to make nobody want to go there? Is there anybody watching that? Is there anybody, trying to stop that? Absolutely not. It's a completely self-run system. They have to try really hard to keep their digital footprint high and well-liked, and to figure out a way to get those things that people are trying to put on their footprint taken away. And the last thing is imagery. The things you put online cast an image about you. It may not be the image you want. You may put something online as a joke. People don't get your sense of humor and they take it the wrong way. Now the imagery that you've put online about you puts you in a bad light. You have to think about the way people take the information that you're posting, because it's not only your friends that are viewing this information. So what I want you to do is, you're going to watch a video. It's going to be on your screen, so you don't have to watch my screen. And in this video, you're going to see images. I want to see if you can associate these images with something that has to do with your footprint online. For example, the first image you're going to see is of a lighthouse. And the lighthouse has a light searching the ocean. What would that lighthouse represent online, in the online world? So you're going to see some images, and I want you, afterwards, we're going to talk with our group, talk about the images you saw and what would they represent in an online world. Okay, so here's your video. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to talk with your group members about the different images that you saw and how those are related to the online world. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to talk over with your group, and then we're going to go back and forth between classes to talk about it. One more minute. One more minute.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and we'll start in Hooten's class. So Hooten's class, we're going to look at the lighthouse. And then Mr. Spear, your class is going to look at the copying and the whispers. Okay, so for Hooten's class, who can tell us what the lighthouse symbolized?
People are always watching you.
People are always watching you, okay. What else?
Like the lighthouse, like the cloud or something, is always watching you.
So it's like the cloud, okay, like the iCloud or the Google Drive, right? Good. What else? Anybody can find you using what? How can anybody find you? What would they be searching with? A search engine. Yeah, so the lighthouse represents somebody using a search engine to search the vast ocean of everything that's out there. Now, for us at the moment, right, we kind of think of ourselves as, you know, a small fish in a giant ocean. Who would want to search anything about me, right? And you know, kind of that's true. I mean, you get a lot of companies that really spend a lot of money to get their name pushed up higher and higher on a search engine. I mean, they spend millions of dollars to be the first or second thing listed in Google. They spend tons of money. So us not spending any money, we wouldn't be up there at the top. But I do want you to understand that even though you're not up at the top of a search engine search, you're still in there somewhere. And the more famous you get, the more popular you get, the more political you get. As you get older, the more impact on the world that you make, the easier it is to search for you. Starting now to next November, you're going to start seeing a lot of information online about people running for president. And you're going to start seeing a lot of people dig up dirt on them to try and bring them down. And that dirt is being dug off of the internet, off of videos people are recording under their jacket while they're giving speeches. Things that they may have done earlier when they didn't think people would care about them. These things are going to start being dug up from times when they thought, well, I'm never going to be president. I'm never going to be searched like that. And now they are. Now, the people running for president, they weren't born when the internet was around. I mean, they were way born before the internet came out, right? The internet wasn't available to the actual person until about 1994. And around that time, that was, the number one way to get on the internet was using something called AOL, American Online. You couldn't really even go to a web browser. There's really no such thing. It wasn't until the 2000s, 2001, 2002, that the internet finally really broke open to everybody. And that's when you all were born. At the very beginning of this, I said, when do you think your first digital footprint was laid? The moment you were born, it was laid. I guarantee your parents were taking pictures of you with their phones and devices the moment you were born. Before you can even walk and leave real footprints, your digital footprints had already started. Your entire life has been digitized and followed. Your entire timeline of who you are can now be searched. The thing about politicians now, they can only go back so far to the digital age. For you, if you want to run for office when you're 35, every single piece of your life can be searched and reviewed online. So like I said, the question I asked, when do you think your first digital footprint was laid? Find your birthday that day. And even before that. Just keep that in mind. It can be kind of scary. So Mr. Spears' class, anybody in your class know what the copying and whispering was all about? The copying and whispering.
Yeah, Blake's gonna give it a shot here.
All right, Blake, let's go ahead and hear it.
Okay, for copying, it would be like if you posted a picture, somebody from anywhere could copy your picture and post it, but they could post it like not as like what you did, so it could be a bad post.
You know what, Blake, that's a fantastic answer. Okay, because one of the examples I want to tell you about is, something that can be easily happen to any of us. So a couple months ago, I got a brand new puppy, right? We adopted a puppy, and he's very rambunctious, very high energy. And I love playing with him, right? So I always throw him the football, and I'm in there, and he's biting the football, and I'm pulling the football away, right? And I got him a little football, too. So and my wife loves taking pictures of it because she thinks it's funny. But there's times when she takes a picture, and I go to his mouth to grab the football, and I yank it out, and I pull my hand up. Mr. Spears' class, I'm showing them as I grab the football away, my hand raises in the air. Well, if she took a picture right then and there, it can be taken two ways. One, I'm pulling my hand away, or what's the other thing that it could be taken as?
Hitting.
Yeah, it could look like I'm hitting my dog. And if my wife was a jokester, she would take a picture of it and go, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to post this on Instagram. My husband's hitting our dog again, just as a joke, right? And she posts it, and I don't know anything about it. And then that post is copied by somebody else by reposting it. And that post is then reposted and then reposted. Not by people I know, but by people I know's people they know, people they know. And then pretty soon, maybe since we live in a small community, one of your parents see the post because they're friends of a friend of a friend of a friend. And they go, wait a minute. And they call you over and say, hey, you know this guy? You're like, well, yeah, he's a teacher at our school. Right away, phone call to the principal. You know you have a dog beater on your campus? You know you have a teacher that beats his dog. If he will beat a little tiny puppy, could you imagine what he will do to my kid or my students? And then I get a phone call. We found out that you beat your dog. Is that anything that happened? Absolutely not. Do I have any say in what people think of what's happening based on the image? Absolutely not. The image that was conveyed was completely opposite of what it was meant to, because somebody posted that about me. And this is not a true story. This never happened. And I'll tell you why it never happened. Not because it couldn't happen, but because my wife has the courtesy to say before she posts anything, is this okay to post? Because she knows that me being a teacher, anything can be misconstrued. That means taken the wrong way by another person and get me in trouble. She knows that. So she has the courtesy every time before posting anything. She says, is this okay to post? Do your friends give you that same courtesy?
Nope.
No, they don't. And it's not because they're mean. It's because they don't know. They don't know the ramifications of the pictures they're taking of you without you knowing and leaving snide or comment or funny little comments about you. They don't know what that does to you. They don't know what that does to your footprint. They don't know how fast things can spiral out of control and make you look like a bad person when you're not. They don't know that stuff because they've never been taught. They've never been shown the ramifications of what they've done. So now your footprint is tarnished, looked at in a bad light because of what other people are doing to it, not because of what you're doing to it. You need to surround yourselves by friends who are willing to help you cultivate your footprint in a shining light. Speaking of which, Blake had a great thing when he said that anybody can view it. Anybody can see it. Anybody can share it. That's the thing you have to understand. It's people that you don't even know that can be causing you problems. And I'll tell you why. It's because students your age have a little game that you play. The game is, I can get more friends on Facebook than you. I can have more followers on Instagram than you. I can have more followers on Twitter than you. You play a game of how many people can you get following you. That is a very dangerous game because now you have no control over anything that you post. I highly recommend that if you do have a social media account, you go home today and you go through your friends list and you delete anybody. You have no idea who they are. You delete anybody that you've never met in actual person. You delete anybody that you don't 100% trust with your digital footprint. Because the game of how many friends can I make is a very dangerous game. And it can hurt you bad if you don't put that in check. That should not be a game that you're playing. You should never say yes to somebody that you've never met. You guys understand? That's very dangerous. Because the next thing, the stadium. Mrs. Hooten's class, what did the stadium represent?
Like, if you do like one thing, and then you get bigger in life, and you get more popular, they can take it and show it to everybody. So
Yeah, so whatever you post, if you're really famous, tons of people can see it. What else? Anybody else in Mrs. Hooten's class? Yeah, anything that you broadcast on the internet, it's like being in a stadium and the Jumbotron is showing it to everybody. And everybody in that stadium, you don't know who they are, but they're all seeing it. Both of those are correct statements. You have to understand this. You have to understand that everything you post can be viewed by everybody. Now, famous people have someone that's called their social media director, right? People that are on social media, like Taylor Swift or Justin Timberlake or Justin Bieber, these people with 46 million followers, these people, they're not always doing their own tweets. They have somebody they've hired that before they tweet anything, they check to see if that will be taken the wrong way. They have people that they hire to make sure before they hit send on their posts that it's okay to send. Because they know the moment it's out there, 46 million people can see it. And that's 46 million different ideas of what that comment or picture conveys. That's why there's so many online fights when people post something that they disagree with and it blows up. It goes viral because they're allowing it to be seen on this jumbotron. And the problem with that is it's permanent. And that's the thing I want you all to understand right now. The things that you post are permanent. The text messages you send out that are personal and private to just your friend are permanent, and they can be viewed by anybody with the right clearance. You have to understand that the private pictures you send on Snapchat and they go away after 15 seconds, they really don't. They can be copied. They can be shared. They can be sent around, and they are permanent. And I can tell you right now that there are students your age that think they have the bestest of friends, and they share pictures that are private, and they say, oh, they're my best friend. They'll never share it with anybody. And then on a Friday, you get in a big old fight, and your bestie is now your frenemy. And all weekend long, you get in this fight, and they start posting all the private pictures you never wanted out. And then on Monday, you make back up. Oh, you're my bestie again. But guess what happened to those pictures? They're out. Everyone can see them, and they're permanent. You can't get them back. Or you have students that think they're in love. Oh, I'm in love. Oh, da, 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 da. Well, you know what? Sorry, guys, but at your age, do you really know what that is? But people think they do, and they send images that are inappropriate. And when those relationships, and Spears class, I'm putting it in air quotes because I don't know if you can really have a relationship as a 7th grader, but those relationships end and those pictures get released and those cannot come back. And I know in our minds, we think, oh, our parents can take care of this. Our parents can make a phone call to the school and make sure nobody sends those pictures out. They can make a phone call to the Google and make sure they can't be searched. I'll tell you what, once those images are out, there's no phone call that will stop anything. No matter how much you think your parents can help you, there is no phone call that will stop that image from going around and becoming permanent and persistent. The persistence of an image getting out or a comment being leaked can be very detrimental to somebody your age. There are people that have to leave school because of ridicule and shame, people that have to move out of town, and sometimes there's students that are so ashamed of what they've done, so tired of being made fun of, that they think there's no other choice but to take their own life. Because of a simple mistake they made, because someone did not tell them that these little mistakes can snowball, become permanent, and become a persistent fixture in their life. You have to be careful with what you share and who you share it with. Make sure you remember that all the information that you have online is your digital footprint. And you need to surround yourself with people that are going to help cultivate that footprint in a good light. You got to remove the friends from your Facebook and Twitter and Instagram accounts that you've never met. Because these are the people that are going to shape your footprint. They're going to shape it for good or they're going to shape it for bad. So before we move on, I kind of want to leave you with one last thing. Because of the persistent and permanent nature of your posts, they will follow you and haunt you forever, or they will follow you and lift you up forever. You have the opportunity at such an early age to make your digital footprint the best you possibly can. But you also, at such an early age, can let it grow wild and untaken care of and just become a detriment when you try to go for college or a job. 90% of all colleges now, after they look at your application, they search for you online and look at your social media accounts. They want to see who you truly are, not who you are on an application when everybody puts their best foot forward. They want to see who you are when you think nobody is looking. They want to see who you are when you think you're only hanging out with your friends. Jobs do this as well. When they're looking at your application, they've tried to find you online and see who you truly are as a person, not who you pretend to be on paper. You have to start understanding that the world is changing for better or worse through your digital footprint. And I'm going to leave you with this before we go to Friday. There is a NFL superstar known as Randy Moss. Does anybody know who Randy Moss is? So Randy Moss, he grew up in a small town called Rand. He went to Marshall University, got a scholarship, was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, was then traded to the New England Patriots, where he and Tom Brady became the #1 quarterback receiver duo of all time. And then he ended his career in San Francisco being a veteran, a receiver, helping out the younger receivers learn how to be better and better. And now he's a well-respected member of the NFL community. But I'll tell you what, that almost didn't happen, because when he was at his hometown in Rand, when he was a high school senior, he was living in a town and a school that was very racist. And every day he would be yelled at and made fun of because of the color of his skin. And one day his friend came up to him and said, "I can't take this anymore. We have to do something about it. The teachers and administration aren't doing anything to help us. And this guy over here is writing racist things in the desk. We got to show him that we won't take it." And after school, he and his friend took that kid, beat him up so bad he went to the hospital for weeks. He and his friend were put in jail for 90 days. Randy Moss lost his scholarship to the one school he always wanted to go to since he was a little boy, Notre Dame. Lost it. He served his time in jail. As the time passed between when he beat that kid up and to when he wanted to go to college again, the memory of that fight, the memory of that beating faded. And so another college came and picked him up. And then the rest is history. But today that would never happen. Today, Randy Moss would just be another story of someone who could have been. Because now when that fight occurs, guess what's all around? Cell phones. And guess what people are doing on those cell phones while that fight is happening? Recording and taking pictures. And every time they put his face on the television and saying, "This guy wants to go to this college," guess what the very next picture they're going to show is? That fight, that video. Memories don't fade anymore now that there's a YouTube. Memories don't fade anymore. They are persistent and permanent, and Randy Moss would just be another person living in Rand as somebody that could have been but wasn't because he made a mistake. Understand that, because your digital footprint is either going to make you or break you. On Friday, you are going to be the judge. On Friday, I'm going to show you 2 people, and you're going to look at their profiles on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and you're going to be able to tell us what you think they convey. Who do you think they are based on what they've posted, and you've never met them? We are going to be the people that judge based on just their digital footprint, and we're going to truly see if you can pinpoint what makes or breaks a footprint so that you can prepare yourselves for the next few years. Because I'll tell you what, these next few years are going to be very, very awkward. Going through 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th grade through social media. Some of you understand that at school, you can get picked on and bullied. And back in my day, if you were picked on and bullied, at least at the end of school, you got to go home to your family, talk to your family, go to your room and feel safe. That's not the case anymore. Now you're bullied 24/7. We have to stop this. We have to understand that, yes, there is such thing as free speech in this country. But you have to understand the comments that you make that you don't think you should make, you shouldn't make. The posts that you shouldn't comment on, don't comment on. The arguments you don't think you should join, don't join. The people in your feed that are leaving bad comments, get them out of there. Don't follow them anymore. You need to clean up your footprint right now before you start leaving dirty tracks in the mud that can never be cleaned up. So Friday, we're going to finish this talk by seeing what other people have left behind and what you think of them because of what they've left behind. And you would tell me, would you hire them or not, just based on their digital footprint. Now, I want to tell you, I said this to the last class too, but I want to say this to you guys. I've been doing this all over the United States, and I've been doing this presentation all over California, and this class has done a fantastic job. And I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate you letting me come in and talk with you. I appreciate you guys taking the time. If you have any questions on anything at all, I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast, and you can ask me. And then Mr. Spears' class, when I end the broadcast, I'll actually come over to your room and see if there's any questions for me as well, okay?
Fantastic.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end it. I'll answer any questions in here, and then I'll head over your way. Thank you, Mr. Spears' class, for allowing me to talk digitally. On Friday, I will be in your room physically, and I'll be in Hooten's class digitally. All right, see you guys later.
Bye, Mr. Rickers.